How's it going, guys? Awesome Mail here with BigRia.com, and we got 101 websites, 101 places to advertise your rentals, your real estate listings, your houses for free. This is ideal for real estate investors, for property managers, and for real estate agents, a whole bunch of people. Anyone that wants as a property, even an individual seller, I guess, you could do this. You should do this as well. Anybody can that has a property can do this. Look at this beautiful feather I've been messing with. It's a gorgeous feather. A feather from an eagle, by the way. I had a pomegranate. He ate the whole thing right out of my hands. Beautiful. Okay, so let's get started here. Number one is Craigslist.org. And by the way, you might be wondering, why do you need 101 places? I'm going to tell you, actually, when we're done here, where is it? Somewhere here. When we're done here, what you'll know how to do, you'll know where to invest, where to advertise your properties, obviously. But you'll also know the only 3 things you need to do to move any property within 30 days. It's amazing to me. It's been years and years. It's like 15 years now, 20 years now, if you can believe it. That I'll tell you, you only need 3 things to do to move any property within 30 days. You only have to do 3 things. You'll know what those 3 things are really quickly here, because we're going to go through them up front. And then we're going to find out, why do you want to use this? 101 websites, you might think, what's the point of that? Well, you're going to know by the end of this why you want to, even if you never use these properties, why you should, or even if you never use these sites, why you want to start talking about them and use 101 websites or 97 websites or whatever in your marketing. Always use an odd number in your marketing. All right, so number one is Craigslist.org. This should be pretty obvious. We've had many students who built entire businesses just using Craigslist. I've seen many. I'm right. You can get this whole list, by the way, for free at BigRia.com. The link is in the description. You can get this entire list for free. I'm so nice to you guys. Okay, so if you get flagged on Craigslist, people bitch and bellyache about this all the time. You want to follow up. The number one thing that a scammer does when they post something and it gets called out is that they just quit, or they find a way around it. Don't do that. Call them up and talk to them. Craigslist is still a viable place, a great place to get leads, as long as you're giving them what they want. One of the things that people say is, oh, you can't spam people on Craigslist. Well, if it's seen as spam, that's a problem. But if people are advertising a property for sale and you're contacting them about buying that property, you won't have issues. So we've done a lot of data scraping from Craigslist, and as long as we are doing the right thing, it's not a problem. And if you're running ads and they give you problems, call them up, give them a call, talk to them, and you should be good. I have some other things here. Use at least 4 to 5 pictures. The more pictures you use, the more traffic you'll get. Include links in the pictures. Write a good title and description. We've talked about this in our classified ad section. So go through that, writing good headlines, and remember to personalize. Don't say call us, say call me, call Mike, versus being a company. Personality or personifying it. Even if you are working for a company, use a name. Call Jenny, phone number. Call or text me, for example. Call or text me after 5. Not that people wait after 5, but it makes it more personal, like there's a real person there. All right, number 2, Zillow. Obvious, a lot of people use Postlets, which is now Zillow Rental Manager. They also own Truly and HotPads, so posting on any one of these sites will post on all the other sites. It's best to start with Zillow, and there's about 25 or 30 other websites that Zillow uses. Go to their website. You can see all the ones they use. Number 3 is your own website. If you have a Facebook page or anything like that, it's better than nothing. You want to have essential information where all the information on the property can be found. So if you are using your website, include all the information there, and then everything else, every other place you advertise, links back to your website. It helps your website get better rankings, and it gives it more authority. So make sure whatever you have, if you have a website, anytime you put up an asset on the internet, it goes to your website first, or your Facebook page or your Twitter. If you're just starting out, even a small new free site can rank and get traffic if you use a street address, neighborhood, city, state in the title and on the page. These are also good reference tools for new sellers that you work with. They can see your previous work. One reason we train realtors to use a dedicated website. Okay, that's another thing. Yeah, use a website for the actual if it's an expensive enough house, especially if you're a realtor, buy a domain, buy a website just for that house. And then when you have testimonials, you can just give out the websites. And all those websites they don't have to be there. It can be its own domain, but it can be a subdomain of your domain. That way your ranking goes up every time you get a new listing, because not only, this is one reason why you want to have 101 websites to advertise, all right? We do in-depth training with realtors, so I'm giving this away. We have students who get paid $7,000, $10,000 to do just this one thing for realtors. Here's what they do. Every time you have a listing, we'll create a subdomain on your website, right? So it'll be like johnrealtor.com or realtorjohn.com. That's not one. I'm sure that's a website. That's not one of ours. But it'll be realtorjohn.com or like 123 Main Street, realtorjohn.123mainstreet.com or whatever. Or it'll be 123mainstreet.com. That's okay too, whatever the address is on that website. But it is under the banner of this main website. So it's connected to this main website, the guy's website. So what happens is his rankings go up in value every time he does this, right? Because now he has all these different links all over the internet that are coming back to his website. So that's why you want to use 101 websites, because now you've got a whole bunch of links to this one listing. Does that make sense? Why are you laughing? Okay, so if you have maybe I'm screwing this up. If you have, let's say you have a $500,000 listing or something, or $1 million listing, right? Get its own domain. Get 50, 100 links all over the internet, linking back to that domain. That domain now is going to go up in ranking, right? Now, what if that domain is one subdomain and you have 10 listings like that each have 100, 200 links out there on the internet? You get what I'm saying? Then your main domain goes up in rankings. Does that make sense? Why does he keep laughing? All right. Cozy is another one. This site's also free. They want landlords to use their services like background checks, tenant payments, account debiting, all that. A lot of these websites are like that. Some of these might not be free by the time you get this, but that's because you were a slow, lazy ass and you should have been quicker watching. No. But there's so many websites out there. It'll be fine. Number 5, your list and fan base. I think we're almost done with all you need to do to move a property, by the way. But every single time you talk to anybody, realize the most expensive thing you're ever going to do in your business is turning someone from a stranger to not a stranger, right? So let me pull this up here, actually. I had this up here. What the All right, so check this out. This is our 5 crowds principle, right? So you have a stranger over here and a fan base fanatic over here. Actually, that's not going to be... This is probably better, right? That's probably better. So you have a stranger over here and a fan. These are the two extremes. There's basically the 5 crowds principle, right? The stranger over here and the fan base. This is what you want to build. So you basically have 5 crowds of people. First, there's a stranger. And then when somebody becomes not a stranger, now they're a potential lead. Then they become a lead. Then they become a client, someone you work with. And then they get added to your fan base. This biggest circle right here, most people, no matter who you are, just about, except like Muhammad Ali or someone like that, there are more people who don't know you in the world than people who do know you. So the biggest, most expensive thing you're ever going to do is converting someone from a stranger to not a stranger. And then at each level of these different crowds here, you want to have a set choreographed maturity process that helps people, that helps them ascend through each of these. You want to have a compliance curve and stuff that we've talked about before, building a relationship with people, nurturing them, so you know how many touches you need to have at the very left. How many strangers do you need to get introduced to today in order to have a 10 grand a month, a 50 grand a month, right? It becomes a mathematical game, becomes really attractive. The whole reason I'm bringing this up right now, coming back to our list, is people screw this up all the time. They'll talk to a seller, they'll talk to a buyer, they'll talk to somebody who's like, oh, that guy's got bad credit, or that seller doesn't want to do a lease option, or that seller doesn't want to do terms right now. That's right now. You've just taken the most expensive thing that happens, turning someone from a stranger to not a stranger, and you've thrown that money away. You want to build your 5 crowds here. So the moment you turn someone from a stranger to not a stranger, that is the most expensive thing you're going to do. You want to have a process in place that nurtures them. And the better you do that, with this list of 101 websites, places to advertise your properties for free, you don't even need to have properties in order to make 10, 15, 20 grand a month using this list and the resources we're going to talk about for other realtors and investors. But understand what I just said is really important, that turning people from strangers to not strangers is the most expensive thing you're going to do. So make sure that when you do that, that you keep in touch with those people, even if they seem like they're deadbeat leads or they don't have money or they don't want to sell, whatever. Keep in touch with those people. You want to have a process that does that automatically, and your team that follows up and calls them, asks them, gets to know what their whys are, building a relationship. Turning on the brights, as we say, love your people, treat every person like a winning lottery ticket, and all this stuff becomes really cool. And that's why you can go to some obscure website like Madagascar, run an ad, and maybe over the course of 2 years you make 100 grand on that ad. I'm going to give you examples of people that have done that, because when you understand how to nurture someone from a stranger, not a stranger, it may be, not immediately, it may be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, but and I know it seems like, why am I thinking about 5 years? But you've already done the work, right? So you might as well nurture. These seeds sometimes take longer to grow, but it gets really exciting. Some of the examples we're going to talk about are really cool. So your list and fan base. Number 6, joint ventures and partnering. This is the only thing you need on this entire list. If you just do this, you'll have no problem. Not only we buy and sell real estate, but we also buy and sell companies. And this is a great way to start, if you're a real estate investor, to start buying and selling companies as well. Because you start working with companies, you start doing cross promotions, you get an idea of their metrics, their numbers, what they're struggling with in their business, what they need help with, their marketing help. And you can use these websites to also advertise business services as well that they have. And this is an extension. I'll just read this. This is an extension of the previous item because your list, your fan base will also include any realtors, lenders, investors, property managers. These are people we call providers. You also want them on your list. That turning someone from a stranger to not a stranger doesn't just apply to leads. It also applies to other real estate professionals. And all this applies to any business. As soon as you go into an area or you have a house that you need to rent or sell, one of the first things you need to do is contact all the local realtors, all the lenders, all the landlords, as many as you can in that area, and that have a similar properties. There's always, this is the thing to realize when you're looking at something from the outside, it always looks a lot bigger than it is. As soon as you get involved in the market, you're going to realize it's not that big. The people are really friendly, especially when you know how to ask and how to run dialogue and have compliance with people. You'll have them eating out of your hand in no time, eating out of the palm of your hand in no time. Go through our dialogue and our other training on that. And really quickly, you build a whole network of people that are helping you move your properties. But also, you're able to joint venture with people. And you're able to, one of the biggest secrets we use is video game companies, because the average video gamer is in their 40s now. And so there's huge markets here. Thousands, tens of thousands of people will join some local Call of Duty tournament from all around your state or all around the country or all around the world. And when you can start, it's almost impossible to not find people there that want to buy and sell a house. And in our business, you only need one deal to make 10, 15, 20, 30 grand. So it's like you can work with one video game store every quarter and make 5, 10 grand a year, or 5, 10 grand a month all year long. So I really love working with JVs. This is one of the coolest things in the world. All right, so most people in real estate throw away far more money than they realize or even make. Every time a local lender can't get one of his buyers approved, for example, what does he do? Oh, can't do it. Everyone in real estate, everyone in every business does this. If you're an ice cream shop, whenever you advertise it only to the smallest group of people that want ice cream right now. So when someone comes in, or when you're talking to someone, if they don't want ice cream right now, you're done. Treat them like, just like, yesterday's, how's it go? Yesterday's news, yesterday's socks, old socks, wet socks. I don't know. They don't treat them like a winning lottery ticket, right? This is a real problem. This is why there's so much opportunity. People say, "Oh, I don't see businesses for sale." Every business you see is for sale, or at least you can do a joint venture or get ownership in that company, because they don't understand this stuff. So how great would it be if you had 5 lenders in your market right now, where every time they were talking, let's say 20 buyers a day, and every time they didn't have a buyer approved, they said, you know what, I can't get you approved, but a friend of mine specializes in deals just like yours. He can help you buy a home and own the home right now and build your credit over the next 6 months, 1 year, 18 months, 2 years, and I'll get you in touch with him. What would that do to your business if that happened with every time a seller went to refinance their home, they weren't able to refinance their home? I got to keep moving. I get excited, man. It's so much opportunity. All right, so you want mortgage brokers feeding your business every day. The same thing with realtors, investors, anybody else. So that's JVs, joint ventures, and partnering. Technically, we're looking for free places to advertise. That may seem like it's not necessarily a website, but it is, because they've got Facebook pages, they've got emails, they've got Twitter accounts. They can post your houses, and also like a workshop. This is huge for private money. When do you want to learn how to invest in real estate? Do you have money? Do you have $100,000 that's not performing as well in the stock market? Here's a free class on how you can start buying apartment buildings with that money or whatever. There's a lot of workshops you can do. There's a lot of opportunity here. I've covered how to do this elsewhere, but for now, just remember that these relationships, like any other relationship, like a marriage even, the best way to have an ideal dream partner is to be one. So, okay, here's good ways to be a good partner. Promote houses for free. When you're getting into anything, just volunteer, right? So, if you want to develop great JV partners, don't call them up and ask them what you can do for them. Just start helping them out. Flood their voicemail. Anytime someone says, if you talk to a lender or an agent or a realtor and say, you know what, you have a house coming up this weekend, right, that you need help with. You have an open house. Well, how about this? Why don't I try and do what I can to help you? What would be a great program or a great way for me to help you this weekend, to help you get more calls this weekend? Do an open house or market a home for free. All right, we're going to keep moving. You guys got to go to this list. Go to this website, read this stuff. It's great stuff here. BigRia.com. Then the link is in the description. So 7 is signs. We have an entire class on signs. I'm going to go off on a tangent on this too. I love signs. Signs have changed my life. Honestly, you can get, if you don't know my story, I was going to become a brain surgeon. I fucked around in high school. I got terrible grades. I was awful. But then my family, of course, like everyone has to be a brain surgeon, a rocket scientist. I'm like, how people are like, I'm the only one in college in my family that went to college. I'm like the opposite, the only one that I went technically, but one of my dreams, I thought, how cool would it be if I could just use signs and hit a brain surgeon income? We do that now, and we have people, it's no big deal now. We have one challenge we do where we say, how much money can you make with one sign? The record right now is 15 grand a month for 9 months straight with a single sign. Signs are amazing. You don't need to do anything else but just, I keep saying that. I said that about JVs. All you have to do is JVs. All you have to do is get really good at signs, and you can get great things happening. So here's a quick note. The only thing you need to do, I said there's only 3 things you need to do to move a property in 30 days. This is it. Signs, ads, and your buyer's list. That's all you need. Ads on Craigslist or one of these other places. Signs, which is the only thing you need. And your fan base. And by fan base, I mean joint venture. So if all you did was when you had a property, you got good at signs. I have a class on how to make $5,000 a week on just using signs. How to use traffic.com, how to find high traffic areas, how to get compliance with the people in those areas. Because every place you put it's either going to be public land or a business or a house, resident, right? A residential area. So how to talk to each of those people and keep your signs up and have them work with you and collaborate with you to keep your signs up. Which, there's great ways to do this. We do a lot of work with special needs. The project special needs, if you don't know my work with, my fam, I've got, we do a lot of work with special needs. More on that later. I'm going to go off and talk like for an hour about that. But one of the things we do as a special needs project is we go out and they put out signs, they raise money. And our goal usually is to get, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand a month to these special needs groups, which we can do with just with signs. Signs is an amazing, amazing thing. All you need is signs to move properties. But here, you can move any property you ever get in 30 days just by using signs, ads, and your buyer's list, right? So everything you do, coming back to this, our 5 crowds principle here, everything you do should be right here to walk people through this process. You want to turn strangers to not strangers, they're potential leads at that point, then into leads, then to clients, and then to fan base, to people you love, people who love talking about you, they brag about you, they scream your name from the rooftops. You want to start building those groups. That's why you want to start, whenever you do any kind of lead generation, you want to have a process that takes people through those different stages of maturity. And so when you use signs effectively, you can put out signs today and make money for the next 1 year off those people that call over the next 5 days, 3 days, 7 days, however long your signs stay up. But signs, ads, your buyer's list is all you ever need to move these properties, and you can build your buyer's list with signs, ads, and doing joint ventures from your, with people in your fan base. That's all you ever need to move a property in 30 days. Why am I listing all these other things here then? I'll give you one little secret right now. So this is a way to use these properties. A lot of times when we work with realtors, like if you're working with realtors, if you want to start working with real estate investors, one of the things we can say is, when you work with a realtor, you're telling a potential seller, you want to ask them how many websites do they advertise your property on, because most realtors will advertise on 1, 2, or 3 websites maximum. And then you want to ask them how many backlinks they're getting, because here's the thing, properties that move within 30 days usually get anywhere between 10 to 20 or 30 backlinks, but the average realtor only gets about 1 or 2 backlinks. Backlinks are people referring links. Whenever you put up a website or any kind of ad, how many links on the internet are linking that ad? But when you do this, you could show someone a graph and say, here's the average realtor gets 3 to 5 backlinks. Here's how many we get. We get 90 backlinks per listing, and that's how we can sell our houses within 30 to 45 days. So you tell this to Mr. Seller, because everyone loves insider information. When you talk to a realtor, ask them how many websites they advertise their property on. They should be able to say, right off the top of their head, the number, but then ask them how many backlinks they get on average per listing. Because if they don't know that number, everyone knows that that's what moves properties on the internet. This is a sign of the quality. Backlinks are like how the entire internet runs, Google and everything. One backlink can be worth millions. So backlinks is how quality is determined. So make sure, Mr. Seller, when you talk to the realtor, if you really want to know whether they know what they're talking about, ask them how many backlinks they get on average per listing. Now, no realtor is going to know this. Sellers, you look like a genius, the sellers. Whenever you tell, this is part of compliance dialogue, whenever you tell someone to ask another professional a certain question, The better, like when a question's like, how many backlinks does your average listing get? Sellers are going to ask that. They love to ask questions like that. That makes them feel like an insider. And it helps you create the standard. You build your nobody mountain. You do more and go further than anybody else is willing to do, and you become a nobody mountain. When you're on a mountain, no one's willing to climb with you. And that's what you want to create. When somebody talks to you, it's like the Jerry Lewis, we always talk about this, where he's playing the piano, he lights the piano on fire because they wouldn't let him headline, and everyone's screaming his name, and then he goes off and he goes to the headlining act, and he's like, you're next, they're all yours. The piano's on fire, they're putting it out, people are screaming, Jerry Lee, Jerry Lee. How do you follow that, right? That's the way that you want to approach this. And when you work with realtors, they can start including this in their marketing. Say, well, we advertise on 97 websites, and we get on average 40 backlinks versus the average realtor gets 4 backlinks. And it can be used in their marketing. So that's one way to leverage this list. All right, let's keep going. Move.com. This is good for educating potential tenants too. A lot of these sites are good for educating buyers and sellers, and it's also good market research because there's pricing records that go back for years on Move.com. They have tips and instruction on painting, decorating, moving with pets. Their search is powered by doorsteps.com, which is another website you can use. They also have a category where they focus specifically on senior living with their partners, seniorhousing.net, which is another great market to get into, senior housing, because that is one of the biggest populations. That basketball through the garden hose is the senior housing. Hot Pads is one of the biggest successes in the industry. A lot of websites struggle to find a niche. They were started in 2005, bought by Zillow for $15 million. They were the first site to use map-based search. They became a favorite of HR departments, relocation specialists, and corporate headhunters, which is corporate headhunters and relocation specialists are great people to use for Airbnb and roommates, where you have executive roommates, like where you can, let's say a property only rents for like $2,500 or $3,000. If you do executive roommates, you can do $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 off that same property, and they're executives, so they're not having orgies and stuff. Rentals.com, they focus on single-family residential, and they can be a great tool for market research. Realtor.com, Facebook Marketplace, they do 360-degree photos. You can join appropriate groups to promote your listing, groups like new home buyers for your area, your neighborhood, expecting parents, any group that would be specifically motivated to buy your house. It's a great place also to generate buyer leads, to start building from stranger to not stranger, start building your it's this getting on Facebook and these, if you just borrowed listings or started working with realtors, investors in your area, you want to make sure that you've got the legality down. But you can take these properties, help them market them, and do things like this that nobody's doing very well, and build your buyer's list, which is the only thing you need to move properties, right? Signs, ads, your buyer's list. If you have a good enough buyer's list, you don't need anything, and you can always move a property in 30 days. Just remember that. If it takes longer than that, it's because you're not doing signs, ads, and your buyer's list properly. If you're doing that properly, you never need more than 30 days. If that, that's putting it out there. You should be able to move properties quickly within 4 or 5 minutes when you get good at this. 13, Trulia.com. They provide a lot of information about neighborhoods. Walk Score. This is a good little tool, a cute little tool. We like this. You won't get much traffic from this, but it's a great tool to use in your marketing. You can include this in like any kind of pamphlets or handouts you have for clients, because it gives it a score. It takes an address and it gives it a walkability score, like the likelihood that you're going to get mugged or raped or shot at if you walk down the street. So it could be up to 100. It measures things like crime, income, parks, pet ownership, and they tell you how friendly or walkable a neighborhood is. Let Go is, and there's other websites like this. They're really cool because they have like mobile audiences. It's like Tinder for classified ads. Not that I would know or anything. It's even written here. The results with apps like this are usually fast, really fast, but it's great to place when you go into a property. If you have a good relationship with these websites, these quick auction websites, and people know you and you've got some history there. When you go to a property like a rehab or something, every single time they've got like a room where they've got stuff they're just throwing away, right? Start taking pictures of that stuff. Put it all on this website. If you get any money out of it, it's a good little side hustle. We have an investor right now that's doing $2,000 a week on average. He's been doing that for about a year now. Just doing that. When he goes to a rehab, quickly just takes pictures and starts moving stuff. He's doing $2,000 to $2,500 a week. Doing it. Very cool. Zumper.com. They're slightly different as they don't focus on property as much, less images. They focus more on the area and the information about the neighborhoods. Their main focus is to get landlords like you or potentially you to use Zumper to screen tenants, run credit reports. LiveLovely.com, they claim to have the largest number of rental listings anywhere. They have a paid version and free version. Obviously, use the free version. They're also connected with Rentals.com. Apartments.com, like most apartment sites, they're also good places for houses as well, so you want to use those. They also post your ads to ApartmentHomeLiving.com and ApartmentFinder.com. They also provide detailed mapping so you can search for nearby shopping, transportation. Right? That's important. You can search that anywhere, but that's part of their blurb here. Okay, peoplewithpets.com. I love pets. I love animals. I love anything with pets. If you're an animal lover, these are the kind of sites that you love, even if they're kind of maybe not so profitable. They charge property managers and realtors, so it's free for you. But for owners, they have a free version. To be honest, we haven't seen that much traffic from this site or others like it. They do appear to be the biggest, the people with pets. Roughly 3 out of 4 tenants have pets, and as we talked about in the class on how to buy apartment buildings zero down, just using the pet policies with 7 ways to buy an apartment building zero down just by using better pet policies. It's brilliant. This is a big market, the pets, and a lot investors hate pets, right? Which is why it's such a great opportunity. All right, it's why it's such a great opportunity, because people love pets and investors hate pets. So there's a great Venn diagram of opportunity here. Done correctly, tenants can be you can have a great experience with them. And when you have the biggest thing here is have a good relationship with your tenants. People say, "Oh, people tear up my properties." That stuff happens. It's much less likely to happen when you have a good relationship with people. Apartable.com, this is placed mainly for big cities. Oodle, I Manage Rent. HomeAway, I'm going to go through this a little bit faster. Nextdoor, it's a social network site like Facebook. Rent Jungle, they have a paid version and free version. With the paid version, it's something like pay-per-click where you only pay for results. They have a lot of rental data that you can check out. Airbnb, this is the juggernaut of the short-term rental world, but in certain areas, there's better websites that get more. It's like Lyft versus Uber. So Uber in some areas is a lot better. Lyft in some areas is a lot more. But Airbnb, they're not the only game in town. There's a lot of other places like this. They want to be the Google of the home rental sharing industry. You can rent out a room, a bed, a whole house on here. But you can also find other localized sites to do this, to put the properties up on as well. One huge, if you want to know like how to make quick money and just really getting good at this, we have a lot of students now. You go to a seller that has a house for sale, and especially if it's furnished, or if they're living there, say, you know what, one of the things I can do is while you're waiting for the house to sell, I can put a room of yours on Airbnb. And a seller can obviously do that as well, but the housekeeping is really important, making sure that you have a room that's clean and that you're cleaning the room and that you're providing snacks and stuff like that, and that you got a good 5-star rating, and that you also understand the internal SEO, the running the headline and stuff. There's work to it that the sellers often, in almost every case, don't want to do. They much rather make half the money just letting you do everything and rent that property out, whether they're there, if the house is vacant, or if they're not there but it's still furnished, you can rent out more of the house, obviously. But this is a way for a for sale by owner who's waiting for their house to sell to turn that into cash when it's costing them nothing, and you can turn these properties into cash as well. You can have this like network of houses that you're using to make an extra $100, $200, $300 a day using for sale by owner properties, putting them on Airbnb until they sell. It's really, really cool stuff. All right, rentdigs.com, they work with several companies, they advertise them heavily. And by the way, on Airbnb, once you find any kind of property that's working, or on these short-term rental sites, let's say that house sells. Well, now if you're making, let's say, $100 a day, which should be your minimum goal, $100 to $200, $100 to $300 a day, if you're making that much money and then the house sells, it seems like, I did all that work, now I have to start over from scratch. No. Make sure you go through my class on this. You want to pick houses where you can find kind of cookie cutter houses, where you can find other 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses, or a similar house in that area that maybe is for rent. You can go to the owner, or you can go to the landlord and say, listen, I want to try and test this. This idea, I did it on a house down the street. Why don't we try it for a week or two? And I want to make sure that I hit my numbers. And that way, when you're making $100 to $300 a day, you can actually rent a property from the landlord and then sub-rent it out on Airbnb. I was bringing that up because of the furniture. It's just so many places you get 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, no payments on furniture. So you can have a property furnished, no problem. And by giving them that week or that 2 weeks, or testing with the for sale by owner or with the realtors' houses, that the market exists and you can get tenants in those properties. And usually, you want to be there 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years. If things change later on, you move on to another property or another area. So it's really a cool way to develop $100, $300, and once you've got it running, it kind of runs on autopilot. Go through our class on that for more on that. But this Airbnb is a huge resource. All right, rentdigs.com. They work with several of the companies. They focus on homes, condos, senior housing, net.com, any kind of senior housing. Whenever you hear this, it's dollar signs. This is a huge business, a huge opportunity here with senior housing, and will be. I think it's like 10,000 people a day are turning retirement age for the next 20 years. So I think 15 years now. It's a good market to get into. Pad Mapper, they've got a unique interface. They use a big map and renter search with a given set of criteria. They can click to learn more. MyNewPlace.com, they do credit monitoring, cleaning stuff, moving quotes. Sublet.com, you can list your house, rooms, furnished, unfurnished, short, long term. It's kind of like Airbnb. Roommates.com, this is huge. I got to talk about the executive roommate situation. Take any property that you have, any rental, start putting them on roommates.com and just see what happens. It's pretty cool because you can take a property that you were going to make maybe $2,000 on, now you're making $4,000 or $5,000 a month on. Kind of like Airbnb, where you can just take properties, rent them from the landlords at market rent and make 2-3 times market rent on these properties. It's great. List your home on local MLS. Sometimes you can do this if you're a realtor, it's free, or maybe you pay, but you only pay when it sells, so you're getting exposure for free. Twitter.com. Very few people do this right. Go to search.twitter.com. Here's the thing. Go to search.twitter.com. So when we work with a realtor, for example. Let's say we list a house on 40 websites, right? And there is something to say about having quality backlinks. That's what you really want. But since these houses get almost no backlinks and you're just using in your marketing that you've got 47, 57, there is, and it doesn't, with listings like this or websites like this, it's not clear that there's no damage to it. It may not always be beneficial, but there's no research we have that shows that there's a damage, especially with the work we're doing. But, because you're not like an SEO specialist, right? But if you want to get so once a week we'll have like a VA or somebody on the team or buyer's agent or someone. We don't use the word virtual assistant, but just so you know what I'm talking about, we hire TOTS, people that start out and their goal is that they should ascend and try to become higher up in the company. But here's what you do: you go to search.twitter.com, right? And you look for anybody in your area that's talking about renting, moving, being in your area, apartments, anything. Use a keyword to target them. And just like that, you can see the exact conversation they're having. Wouldn't it be crazy? Like, how cool would it be if you're a plumber, if you could go to every bar in your radius market and talk, and every time someone says, hey, do you know where there's a good plumber? I need to get plumbing done, or plumbing's a pain in the ass, or finding a good plumber is a nightmare. And you could just be a fly in that conversation and then materialize and just get right there involved in that conversation. How cool would that be, right? That the closest thing is the search.twitter.com. It's a great feature. I've not so crazy about Twitter for a lot of reasons, but this is a really cool thing. So don't just post a link to your website, but also talk to them, be helpful, explain, answer the question. Every realtor should be doing this. Every real estate investor, every property manager, you've got to be there, right in their face, in their place, and help them out with the question that's answered. If nothing else, a very quick way to get. We're now doing this with Big RIA is, go find out a question somebody's asking, answer that question, and then go back and post a link to that question. Say, you know what, I just answered your question here. I hope that helps. If there's anything I missed, let me know. And it's a great way to build a relationship, but also to get more traction to your videos, to your digital assets that are online, right? Okay, Instagram.com, they're owned by Facebook, and now with Instagram stories, there's a lot of ways to drive traffic. Anytime you're on social media, don't ever just post and the standard stuff that everyone does, like that selfie with you looking hot or whatever, don't do that stuff. And don't ever just post a house like a listing. So you want to have a story with it. You want to have some reason why you're telling people. Like a friend of mine is rehabbing a house. If you know somebody that wants to move to area, send them these pictures, please, and help me out. Because you can get a better deal on it before he puts it on the market this Tuesday or something like that. So you want to include some reason why your people are getting something special. It's not just a link to a listing. Don't ever do that. Always explain something that they're getting special because they know you, right? Because you want to give someone a reason why they spread it, right? Like, if a guy that I'm friends with on Facebook is friends with a rehabber or something like that. Some reason people always want to feel like insiders. Make sure that you're doing that. Rentberry, they've raised a few $1 million. They're trying to raise over $20 million to expand. Their goal is to handle every part of the long-term rental process, from tenant screening, running ads, open houses. TurboTenant.com is another one. National Corporate Housing. Don't overlook this one. These ones are great. They cater to busy executives. These are the people you want to work with. They're great they have a whole furnished housing section. You'll see what I'm saying. One of our recent video challenges was a young man who took that rented who took a home that rented for $2,000 a month, and he got $4,300 a month by using multiple roommates on this. I talk about roommates. I love roommates; are great. A lot of people on our team have done this, the roommate model. It's really cool to explode your ROI and get a lot more cash in a way that's largely invisible or unknown to others. People aren't doing this. It's great stuff. I love it. If you guys want, we can go over this more. Just ask about it. Hunt.com. It's another one. Booking.com, Rent.com. Oh, this is going to take forever if I keep reading them. Real Rentals. They also own Apartment List, Buy Owner MLS, Travit, Reddit. The Reddit, by the way, it calls itself the front page of the internet. It is the third most popular website in America. So Reddit, sixth most popular in the world. It's a juggernaut. Think of it like a really big chat room, like the old chat rooms with AOL, America Online. I have to explain that for some of you. You want to build relationships, find a group of landlords, buyers, people in your area, post meaningful content just like we talked about on Twitter. Don't just show up when you need stuff. Treat this the same way we talked about Twitter earlier. Be a friend, be helpful, develop a following. And then when you do post a home or something like that for rent, it's great. It's also great for wholesaling. If you want to get into wholesaling, into assigning deals, build relationships, and great things will happen. Homes.matula.com. I don't know what the fuck that is, but OfferUp. That's just like a Let Go. eBay. They have a community section you can use. Lacanto. This is. We're going to talk more about these websites, these like exotic websites, and also it's great for your business if you're a local realtor and you've got links from. We've got, we have people, buyers and sellers, and 6 different countries, or we're buying and selling or actively doing deals, all over the place. It's great. One of the coolest things, and by the way, whenever I have a testimonial or something, whenever I have something that, depending on your relationship with me, right, you gotta love me, but once you do, you can use our testimonials as well, right? So you can be, whenever you're doing stuff abroad, overseas, we have a list of like the 5 things to say to sound smart. One of the best things to say is talk about politics in a developing country, a third world country. And one that people don't know about. So talk about like Uruguay, like the riots in Uruguay are out of control, or the protest in don't say Venezuela or Afghanistan or like Pakistan or India or something that people have heard of. Or like if you're going to talk about India, talk about South India. Like the protests in South India are out of control. And watch, people are going to be like, oh, tell me about it. It's fucking bullshit. Like, nobody, but it helps you sound smart. So it's a good positioning tool to have traffic from overseas. So these websites that are more focused overseas, you can still use them and get a lot of benefit out of them. I'm going to talk more about that in a second. Rentbyowner.com, connected investors, FISBR, put your listing on the MLS for a fat fee. Yakaz. This is actually a really big one. I think that was the one. And then loot.com, this is one we've used mostly in the UK, London. Create a free websites. Another thing, Ucraft, Wix, Weebly, Google Sites. Create a free website, and that's cool. Okay, now for some classified ad websites. These are the websites I was talking about earlier, where these are like maybe. So these are actually 57 solid websites. Most of them are solid websites that are active. They have traffic. These other websites, it's kind of hit and miss. Some of them are. Sometimes they get traffic, sometimes they don't. Again, the reasons why you do this. First, it sounds cool. You can use it in your marketing. You can use it as a hook. You can also say that it helps in getting backlinks. But it's also great for people to be found. So one of the things we have with special needs, we were just doing this with some of these websites may be neglected, right? But if you go and you look up, someone who was, ran an ad 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, and you still try to contact them, just see what happens, right? It doesn't cost anything to send someone we do this a lot where we do these challenges. We'll say, okay, here's a list of 5 websites that look like total dog shit, that no one goes there. Let's see what opportunity we can drum up here. And we'll just start going through the site. Somebody will go through the, the personal sites, go through anything on there, go through the resumes, go through the gigs, go through whatever they've got on this website. And we were doing this with our special needs kids. And one of the guys they found was a guy who was selling car parts. And we got in touch with him, and he was really a brilliant guy. And so basically what happened is this, the local politicians and gangsters were stealing, basically taking everyone's money and land like they always do. It's the same shit everywhere, right? And they were taking, he was driving, there's a few people that have done this in India and have done this in Africa, where they'll drive like a rickshaw or like a small car to try to make money, and they confiscate that. The local politicians will take it because they want you to be dependent on them. And so they took this guy's stuff, and then there was this almost a billionaire guy who had this giant yard, and he would take everyone's cars and store them in his front yard. Right, just like to rub it in their faces that I don't need your stuff, but I've got it, and you don't have anything. And so this guy that we had connected with, we found out his whole story. He had gotten his family and had this car, and that was how he was making money. And he wanted to try and get his car back, but there's no way to do it. And when he would jump the fence or jump the wall to get over there into the front yard, which is like several acres, it's not really, it's like, multiple, think of like 10 football fields, right? But they had armed guards, they had attack dogs, they had lights, they had, barbed wire, they didn't have landmines, I don't think, but they had like all kinds of crazy stuff. But this guy was so desperate to feed his kids, he needed to make money, that he would jump the wall with his brother, and they would hold flashlights in their mouths, and they would go in the pitch black at night, risking their lives, knowing the dogs could, tear their ass apart, they could get shot at if they were caught, and they would start working on his car and other cars as well, taking out car parts, basically, I won't say stealing because it was stolen from them, but taking back the parts that this warlord, these drug lords had taken from him. And then he was putting them online. What a badass this guy is. And I was sitting there with our class, our special needs kids that were learning about this guy's life. And it was such just this moment of, this is something that just happened. This is just one example why I'm telling you there's always good people to be found. You could be in America and especially if you have special needs or something, and start getting a little bit mopey, right? Like a little bit lazy, thinking, woe is to me, like, shit sucks for me. And you kind of get like, it's like what happens. It's like this disease in America. And it's so important that you meet with people like this, that you get this kind of perspective from a guy like this who's risking his life to get car parts that he can sell for, make, like just dollars, just make a few pennies on some of the work that he's doing just so he can feed his family. He's risking his life every day to do this. And it gave these kids such perspective. And these are the kinds of stories you can find when you just get out and you start meeting with people and talking to people. It makes you a much better person. It gives you, we've said this many times, a person with a broader perspective is generally the best person. You're a better person than you were when you had a more narrow perspective, and it just makes you less of an asshole. It makes you a much better, much more interesting person to have these kinds of stories in your mental Rolodex and to have these examples. So we are always looking for brilliant people. Usually, you're going to find them in countries that are, that you've never heard of, and that are in parts of the world that you would never visit, that you would never vacation to. And you really realize how lucky we are in America. Really, nobody in America has any problems, right? No problem you have, you don't have it tough at all. No one in America does. It's like, you got to understand, this is like a fucking amusement park. It's just like, it's like if a kid was born and raised in Disneyland, and then he went out, he'd be like, oh, strangers don't just give you candy, or they do, but, not ones that you don't want to hang out with them. But like, that's what people like when you're in this bubble in America. So you develop a lot better gratitude as well. Anyway, my point is that we have a lot of fun with these websites, and it also helps to see opportunity, helps you fire the dendrites. All right, so let's fly to these websites. Kijiji, Backpage was another one. They got shut down. Kijiji is still up and running. It's not as big as it used to be. RIA Classifieds, land listings, land sale listings. This is for vacant land. We did a whole class on this. Gibo, OLX, Quicker, Hoobly, Claz, US Net Ads, Kenna, Gumtree, US Free Ads.ws, classified ads, ad post. There's little descriptions here. You can check out the descriptions, but this is what I'm talking about. Some of these sites are more active than others. They all got something happening here. Domestic sales, Sales Spider, Ads Globe, Kaping. They call it Ping Your Way Home. They offer text pinging, so you can find buyers that are driving by, and then they can text for more information right then and there. Create a Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram page. That's another one for the property or for the subdivision. If you want to own a certain market or a certain area, create a Facebook page for that specific neighborhood. So one thing we do this a lot, like Brookshire North houses, or west side of Carmel houses. And then what happens is when you go to that neighborhood, you can say there's 8,000 buyers here. So before you call a realtor, or if you're in foreclosure or something, see how many of these 8,000 or 4,000 members we have here want to buy your property. Another thing you could say is if you've built multiple of these, multiple Facebook groups or Twitter accounts, or Instagram pages or Facebook pages. You can say, I've got 4 pages. I advertise my properties on 97 websites. I have 4 different groups for different parts of Indianapolis or different parts of Chicago, 4 different Facebook groups. In between them, I've got about 120 or 120,000 people, followers between the Twitter, Facebook, and on your email list or whatever. And you can use this in your marketing whenever you talk to anybody in those markets, in these areas, because the best deals are the ones. Well, every deal is the best deal, right? It's how you can always find a brilliant deal. But when you go into these markets, when you go into these neighborhoods, you can start telling people that if you, before your house is for sale, before you list it, or if you feel like you have no equity or you feel like you're upside down, let me know, because if I can go to my 120,000 buyers and see what we can do. And you can start telling this to realtors as well. When you have a seller that can't afford their property, remember, I've got 70,000, I've got 4,000 buyers, so let me know about them. And then it gives the realtor a good story to say, well, this guy has a Facebook page for this neighborhood or for this part of town. If the realtor can't list their property, if there's not enough equity, they'll say, you know what, you can't afford to list your house, but a friend of mine, this is a JV, a friend of mine, runs 2 Facebook groups for Central Indiana, and he has 8,000 buyers. So maybe you give him a call. So it's a great way of lead generation thing that way. Ablewise, Cugley, sounds like Fugly, Mundinion, Adland Pro, Salika, City-Based Golf Classifieds, Recycler, Expatriates. This is an interesting site. There's people that give up their U.S. citizenship so they don't have to pay taxes, and this website has to do with people that are living outside their native country. I don't know if they gave up their citizenship, but it's a website to use for land. These people a lot of times want short-term. We worked with a lot of people that are in this category. A lot of like anarchists, Sell.com, Ocala, forsale.com. That's really local to Florida. That's another thing. Really local sites can be really good or really bad, but if they're good, like Topics, Carmel, Topics newspaper, used to be a newspaper, that used to get a ton of traffic. So anytime you have a local site like that, it can work well. Finder Master, Top Classified, Super Ads, Buy Sell Community, Biggest Classifieds, Adoist. They use a heat map to track where people are, where they're most active. So at a glance, you can see where they get the most traffic. So it's pretty helpful. NPR press release. This is really cool. Press releases. We're almost at the end, but there's still a gem here. One of the coolest things to do, the biggest problem realtors have when they have a listing, aside from the listing not selling, which, by the way, about 1 out of 3 times they don't sell that listing. Always remember that. They screw it up. But one of the problems they have is the seller doesn't think they're doing anything. When you add stuff like backlinks, when you add stuff like having a Facebook page or having a website for it, or when you do a press release, whenever you do this press release, you have to have a hook. So talk to the seller. Is it like a surgeon is, did he go to high school at the local high school and now he's upgrading? So local surgeon strikes it big. Some story, some hook. It could be something about the seller, something about the house. Haunted house goes up for sale, or mysterious, disappearances reported around. You want to get some sort of hook. If you don't have something like that, you always do. There's always something like that. But if you're not, you got to fire the dendrites better. Get better with your hook. What is find out any information about, and don't talk about. Don't be like wife beater must prosecutor demands that he leaves the county. Don't be like that. You want to have some interesting hook. When you've got a good hook like that, it's great for the press release. But even if you don't, if you're starting out, just put out a press release, and you can search Alexa and. Make sure that the press release company you work with has a good ranking. NPRs, they're free. You can go to other press release sites, but go to Alexa and make sure they have a good ranking. Alexa.com will tell you. But NPR is free, and you can start with that one. ThriftyNickel.com, Classifieds Factor, Viva Street, Buku, Ad Hordes, and then I added some extra ones, 100-day ads, Penny Saver USA, Well Classifieds. We only stopped this because it got so long. But okay, so that's our list, you guys. Hopefully you understand. I said earlier when we were done here, we would understand the websites you can post on these websites. But the only 3 things you need to do, remember, don't ever think that you need more than 30 days to move a property. Ads, signs, your buyers list. volunteer for a realtor, volunteer for an investor, volunteer for a property management company or a lender or anybody, or just volunteer for a neighborhood. Go in and talk to a for sale by owner and say, you know what, I'm trying to get my real estate business going. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing, but I'm just curious. Can I kind of be just your little helper, your little errand boy, your little bitch? I just want to help you move your property and sell your property. Do what you need to get signs, ads, and your buyers list built, and then you won't have any issues moving properties. It also helps you if you work with wholesalers, because they'll come back to you and want your help in finding buyers and renters for their properties as well if you move them properties at a discount. So easy breezy. And then we also understood where these sites are. The only 3 things you need to do: signs, ads, your buyers list, JVs. We talked about that. We talked about other cool stuff too, but I got to wrap this up. It's getting too long. Anything I missed, let me know. I'll make sure you get it. Always like, comment, subscribe. Give us some love. If this was helpful. If it wasn't, don't be an asshole. Don't, be nasty. Tell me what we can do to improve. And I know I go off on these. I get so excited. I talk about stuff. I try to keep it. That's why I got the website open. I try to keep it direct. But there's so much opportunity here. We talked about why you want to use these websites. You can use backlinks, how you can use it in your marketing, etc. And we also talked about how you can connect with great people and become a better person. Hopefully that helps you guys. I love you so much. Thanks for everything. Take care. We'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.